A critical matchup in Region 4 play here in Freeport, Illinois, as Highland men's basketball hosts the Triton Trojans. Welcome to Larry FKO Gymnasium. I'm Adam Oppenheim. Let's start with the visitors, the Trojans from River Grove, Illinois. They've taken a step back from the previous 2 years when they went 34-3 and the 23-24 season. They were the national runner-ups, and last season they finished 29-6. This season they currently sit at 11-8, 9-4 in Region 4 play after a win on Wednesday versus Daly, 96-66. This Triton team certainly still extremely dangerous. And flipping it over to the other side, Highland on a season-long 4-game losing streak. And they are currently 2 games under 500 at 10-12 overall, and now just 1 game above 500 in Region 4 play, 7-6 after a loss Wednesday against Truman, 79-70. That broke at least a 16-game winning streak against the Falcons. That only goes back to the 2015-2016 season. Now, these teams met earlier in January, on January the 7th. Triton took the win, 90-71. The Highland actually got off to an extremely quick start in that game, but after the first time out by the Trojans, they were able to finish off the second half strong. They led 40-29 at the half, and then they put up 50 in the second half. Another great shooting display from the Trojans. Highland really looking to bounce back from one of their toughest stretches, if not their toughest of the year. They hadn't had a 3-game losing streak since the beginning of the season in November. And that loss on Wednesday was not something head coach Eric Walton wanted to see. As both teams about ready to go. If you notice, Highland is in a light blue shirt, and that is for Bryson Bush, who is from Freeport, Illinois, and passed away after a 16-month battle with cancer. That was on January 1st. Coach Eric Walton gave a speech a few weeks ago, and Highland is wearing those blue shirts to honor him, along with a yellow ribbon and Bryson and some font on the shirt. So we wish the best and send our condolences to Bryson Bush and his family. So with that, we'll take a break for the national anthem. And tip-off is next between the Cougars and the Trojans. Welcome back to Freeport, Illinois. About set to get going between Highland and Triton. So first for the visitors, the starters, a sophomore guard from Senegal, number 0, Papa Kunta. A sophomore guard from Akron, Ohio, number 2, Will Scott. A sophomore guard from Pasadena, California, number 5, Sadiq Moore. A sophomore forward from Baltimore, Maryland, number 10, Matt Sullivan. And a freshman forward from Detroit, Michigan, number 11, Therese Holmes. And now for the Highland starting lineup, a redshirt sophomore guard from Immokalee, Florida, number 1, Kevin Morales. A sophomore guard from Rockford, Illinois, number 2, Walter Hill Jr. A sophomore guard from Olympia Field, Illinois, number 3, Mayo Swansea. Redshirt sophomore forward from Dangria Town, Belize, number 20, Jaheim Ciego. And a redshirt sophomore forward from Chicago, Illinois, number 23, Chin Hansen. A really important game for both teams, but especially Highland. If they want to stay in the picture in Region 4, it's been a struggle as of late. The Trojans have just marched their way on, even with head coach Brian Burns not being in the lineup here again today. Taylor Lavery has been the head coach, acting head coach. And talking to assistant coach Cole Hardkey before the game, he said, we're splitting up some of the duties. He's doing the offense, being Cole Hardkey, and Coach Lavery taking the defense, but it's been a similar style to how they've played in the past. They don't have the immense talent that they've had the past couple of years, but this is still a really dangerous Trojans team that shoots the 3 extremely well. They're 5th in the region at over 37%. They attempt a lot of threes and also make a ton of long balls. And on the defensive end, they allow the 6th fewest 3-point attempts. That is their main goal on defense, is to run teams off the 3-point line. For Highland, they're looking to play with a lot more energy. Head coach Eric Walton was not happy after Wednesday's game against Truman. They gave up on too many plays, especially down the stretch. And the Falcons were able to take advantage in transition. So it'll be Hansen and Holmes in the center circle. Tip is won by Chin Hansen. And we're underway. 20 minutes has not started, and now it does. Here in Freeport, Illinois. Morales, top of the key. Nails the 3. Well, that's a good start for Highland. 3-0, 15 seconds in. A lot of talented players on this Triton team, including Will Scott. He finds Holmes, who answers with a 3. It was a nice pass from the corner to find Holmes, who knocks down his 23rd of the year. Hansen, fade away in the lane, is perfect. 5-3 Highland. 19:15 remains in the first half. Sadiq Moore will give it up to Matt Sullivan, the best shooter on this Trojans team. 15 on the shot clock. Still on the perimeter as Holmes steps into another 3. This time it comes off to Ciego. Walter Hill Jr. crosses the timeline. Morales at the top, fakes the 3, bounces inside. Hansen against Holmes, fades away and nails it. Chin Hansen had 11 points, 16 rebounds, and 10 blocks on Wednesday, his first career triple-double. Therese Holmes posted uphill, finds Sullivan. He's right off the 3-point line, drops inside, and a nice fake. And Kunta lays it in on the interior. 7-5 Cougars. 150 in. Hill Jr. Straight line drive to the basket for two. Early timeout. Trojans. Not the defense Taylor Lavery was looking for. 30-second timeout. Highland leads 9-5 with 18:06 to go in the first half. Good start for Highland. They lead by 4 against the Trojans. Again, something to watch. The three-point shooting for Triton is just one of the best in the country, and certainly one of the tops in the region. Part of that reason is Matt Sullivan, who backs it out. He's up to Holmes. Kunta in the paint. In front of the free throw line, back to Sullivan. Tries to Euro step his way in. It's knocked away. It will stay with the Trojans, but 5 on the shot clock. Inbound goes to Holmes. Back to Moore. Corner 3 is short as the shot clock was expiring. Hill Jr. has the rebound. Hill Jr. finds Morales, top of the key, and turns it over. It's picked off by Moore. He was in the passing lane and able to finger roll it in off the glass. 9-7 Highland, just about 3 minutes in. Morales steps into another 3. This one is short. Sullivan has the rebound. Matt Sullivan, no hesitation, back iron. Hill Jr. will take up the rebound. Left to right cross. Short on the 3, got his own rebound. He'll bring out Matt Sullivan to guard him. We'll get a little brush screen from Hansen. Morales with 6 on the timer, short on a baseline jumper, and a fast break for the Trojans. Kunta down the lane! Throwing it down! Morales was in his way, and he went right through him to tie the game at 9. A ferocious finish for the Senegal product. Hill Jr. can't respond on the elbow jump shot. Kunta has serious bounce. You saw it a couple times when Highland visited the Trojans, as Hill Jr. picks up the foul, trying to stick with Holmes. First team foul for Highland. None for the Trojans. Anthony Washington, first sub off the bench for Eric Welton. He comes in for Mayo Swansea. Over the top into the backcourt. Will Scott will gather. Shot clock is at 15 as he crosses half court. Holmes pulls up over Morales. A difficult shot is too strong. Ciego looking for Hansen, posts it up, it's knocked away. Sullivan comes up with it. Matt Sullivan down the lane. Took contact, no whistle, rebound is secured and finished by Kunta, and he was fouled. Papa Kunta already has 6 points, averages just under 13 on the season. The transfer from Frank Phillips College. It's in the Western Junior Athletic Conference. He misses the free throw, so it's 11-9 Trojans. Hill Jr. off the bounce, attacks the paint. Washington in the corner. Hansen above the free throw line. Long two is good. Shin Hansen so far has been cash from the mid-range. Tied at 11. 5:15 in. Scott tries to drive the baseline, up and under, and it's perfect. Morales against Scott on the left wing. Gives off to Hansen. Fakes a three. Inside Ciego. Corner pop. Way off. It was an air ball. Sullivan, extra pass. Kunta got it from the corner. Defense to offense for the Trojans, and they lead 16-11 with 14 minutes to go in the first half. Jr. has Sullivan on him. Inside, Hansen, fade away from the baseline. This time, it's short. Kunta has the rebound. Sadiq Moore into the chest of Morales, finds Sullivan. Bullseye! The Trojans are on fire from deep. That's already 3 triples. Timeout Highland. And Triton now has the 19-11 lead with 13:34 to play in the first half. Welcome back to Larry F. Kale Gymnasium. I think we have maybe some confusion on the score, possibly. It says 17 for Guest. I think it should be 19. Well, it will stay. 17-11. 13:30 to go in the first half. Full court pressure from the Trojans. That Highland breaks after the Cougars timeout. Hill Jr. off a Hansen screen. Hill Jr. tried to give it up. It was deflected. A Hansen. 7 on the shot clock. The cutter. Washington. It's wiped away. Blocked by Holmes. Shot clock didn't reset. Hill Jr. It would not have counted. It was no good anyways. But a shot clock violation. Nice defensive play by Therese Holmes when it looked like Washington was wide open for a layup. Scott, under 13 to play in the first half. Ethan Johnson checks into the game for the first time. So does Nathan Nyarko. Therese Holmes against Morales, about 18 feet out. Trying to post him in, down to the block. That's a tough fall-away jumper, and it's good. Holmes didn't move Morales a ton. It didn't matter, as Hill Jr. can't finish a reverse layup. And then Nyarko had the ball for the Trojans, but was standing out of bounds. So Kevin Morales checks out. Mohamed Bello Suleiman from Nigeria checks in. He did not play the last 2 games after a suspension, after he was kicked out of matchup against Indian Hills, as Holmes picks up the foul on the Ciego cut as he was going up for a layup off the inbounds pass. Suleiman had 8 points in that game against Indian Hills last week. And Highland is looking forward to having him back in the lineup. Ciego rolls in the first free throw. 19-12. Triton, as Washington comes out for Mayo Swansea. And Ciego, if he makes this, will check out for Daryl Toney. And Ciego makes it, so Toney comes in for Ciego. Hill doing some imaginary shooting, wondering how he missed that reverse lay. Scott finds a corner shooter. It's short by Johnson. Offensive rebound, Kunta. Johnson, reload. This time he cashes out. It's a 3-point barrage in the first half. 22-15, 8 minutes in. Hill Jr. Suleiman's open. Short. On the corner 3. Hansen has the rebound. The fade rolls off. And Holmes snatches the rebound. And will start the fast break. Scott fakes on a 3. And back out to that coffin corner. Now crosses over in the paint. Lobs it up. Holmes alone. Spins and scores. Therese Holmes has an early 7. 24-15. Hill Jr. stops in the paint. Swansea had it knocked away for a moment. Finds Toney. The long 2 is in and out from the baseline. 11 minutes to go in the first half. Holmes against Hansen. Couple of jab steps. And now we'll call up Kunta. Highland doesn't communicate on the switch, and it leads to an and 1 for Papa Kunta, who has already crushed the Highland defense in this first half. Already has 14 points. That was a switch that Eric Walton was calling out. At Highland needed a switch. They didn't in time. And it leads to the 3-point play by Kunta as he makes the free throw. Kunta comes out for Matt Sullivan. 27-15. And Triton showing full court pressure with 10:45 left in the first half. Suleiman's pass was deflected. Moore with the left, he came up short. Suleiman had the rebound, it was poked away. And the left-hand layup falls for Sadiq Moore. So the Trojans forced the first turnover, couldn't finish, but the second one, they got an A+ look at the basket, and the lead is 14 for Triton. 10:30 remains in the first half. Highland's just searching for answers right now. Back in Freeport, 10.5 minutes to play in the first half. Highland would love to draw this game closer. 29-15, they trail. Hill, that's a deep three. It's good. 29-18. 10-10 to play in the first half. That was a deep straight-on three. Sullivan answers with a triple of his own. That is all net. Leads back at 14, and then a steal as Swansea was trapped in the corner. And Johnson was fouled by Hill Jr. That would have been a fast break for the Trojans. That's Sullivan. 8th in the country in three-pointers made. That was his 48th of the season. 48 threes, and he shoots at a 43% clip. Deep three. Johnson is fouled by Ciego. It was 2 passes off the inbounds from half court. It was a deep wing three, but just not a clean closeout by Ciego. As Johnson will draw 3 at the line. Johnson hits the first. 33-18. Johnson makes the second. Highland's defense hasn't been terrible in the first half, but they're certainly not helping themselves. Triton's going to knock down a lot of threes. We talked about it at the top of the telecast, but giving them transition opportunities hurts you even more. Johnson hits all 3 free throws, and Kunta also comes back into the game for Nyarko. Ciego attacks, left wing, and he got fouled as it was a straight line drive to the rim. Shot won't go, but he will shoot 2. First is good by Ciego. 35-19. 9:25 remains in the first half. 5 team fouls for Highland, 2 for Triton. Ciego makes both free throws. 35-20. But can Highland get some stops? They're on pace to give up nearly 70 points in this first half. Sullivan coming off a screen. Another one falls down. The Trojans cannot miss from deep. 6 3-pointers. They averaged 9.5 per game. Ciego powers his way to the rim for 2. Just drove right from the corner down the baseline. Shot's no good by Moore, but the tip falls. Offensive rebound by Holmes, and he tipped it in all in one motion. 40-22, 8.5 to go. Hill Jr., that was a tough 2, won't go. Battle for the rebound. Hansen has it poked away and secured by Holmes. 18-point lead and the ball for Triton. Moore spins, gives it up. Holmes, back iron. Hill Jr. takes it up for the Cougars. Hill Jr. in the paint with the left, sneaks it in by Holmes. And then a technical was called on Walter Hill Jr. Must have been something he said, because there was no action. So that's a big one, a Class A technical foul. Not because of the text so much, as Sadiq Moore will go to the line and hit the first. But that counts as a personal foul. So it's the third against Walter Hill Jr. Now, Class A can mean a lot of different things. No argument from Hill Jr. Moore makes both free throws. And the lead is 18. Very similar to the first game these two teams played this season. Highland got off to a 9-2 lead in River Grove, and then the Trojans just took over. On fire from deep. Similar story. Highland forces an early Triton timeout, and the Trojans just start lighting them up from deep. Sullivan again. Back rim, Ciego able to snatch the rebound away from Kunta. Papa Kunta, already a giant first half with 15 points. Ciego, left wing with 15 on the shot clock. Against Kunta, through the middle of the paint, spins, fades, can't bank it in. Hansen, the rebound. Hansen travels before a power to the cup to try to score. 42-24, 7:15 in the first half. Highland would love to get this lead into at least the 10-12 range at halftime. Will Scott draws out the big Hansen on the left wing. Scott crosses over. Around Hansen, off the window, he scores. Nice move by the second-year Trojans guard. Morales was blocked on the interior. He got it back and pulls it back outside for a three. That falls down from the right wing. (44-27), 6.5 to play. Scott backs in Washington on the block. Will fade away. That's in and out. Offensive rebound. Kunta inside. Hansen got a piece of it. Ciego leaking out off the floor. He's able to lay it in. Nice pass from Walter Hill Jr. is from half court. Morales the steal. Saves it, but it went right to Scott. And it leads to a three-pointer that is short from Johnson. Hill Jr. Lob. Ciego. A little too low. As Ciego climbs to his feet, it's a 5-on-4. Kunta. Holmes. Left alone off the backboard. He was trying to lob it to himself. It was knocked away. Ends up with Johnson. And Sullivan will slow it down out near the center court logo. 7 on the shot clock. Scott against Hansen. Scott. He's fouled. And the shot was short. 2 shots coming for Will Scott as Hansen was in the landing area. First against Hansen. Taylor Lavery got to be really happy about what his team has done in this first half, and it's been a similar story for Highland. Just allowing too much easy offense for the Trojans. Will Scott hits the first free throw. So Will Scott, technically a sophomore, played at Canisius College last year, played in 7 games before his season was cut short by a knee injury, as he's short on the second, but was on this Trojans team, the runner-up team, back in 23-24, and averaged 7 a game. Ciego down the lane, And a two-hand flush. That will hopefully get the crowd energized for Highland. 45-31. Under 5 to play in the first half. Holmes will hand to Will Scott, who draws out Hansen. Third straight possession. Scott against Hansen. It's 2-0 Scott this time. He gives it up. Moore back to Scott. As the shot clock's expiring, he side irons a three. Fight for the rebound and a tie-up. Possession arrow will keep it with Triton. Timeout Trojans. Full timeout. 45-31. The Triton Trojans lead the Highland Cougars. .435 remains in the first half here from Larry F. Kow Gymnasium. Trojans ball after the timeout. 17 on the shot clock. 45-31 visitors. Will Scott against Morales. Less than 10 on the timer. Off to the corner to Moore. Holmes lost it. Moore has it. Shot clock running low. Moore with the left hand. He banks it in. 47-31 Trojans. 4 to play. Hansen fakes a three, drives against Holmes, goes around him, but missed it at the rim. Transition three, short for Scott. Hansen all alone for the rebounds. Swansea fades away from the baseline. No good. Rouse was able to find him in sort of a semi-transition look, but it was a tough fadeaway jumper. Will Scott has it at the top. 10 on the shot clock. Scott down the lane with the offhand, can't finish. Hansen affected that shot. Washington off and running. Morales into the paint. Draws a lot of attention. Swansea from the elbow. That's his spot. And he's cut the Trojans lead to 14 with 3 minutes to play in the first half. First bucket for Mayo Swansea. Coming off tying his career high with 20 points on Wednesday. Scott fakes the three into the paint. Holmes interior. On the interior, he scores. And well, now some subs come in as Ciego on the ground. Stevan Jurisic from Serbia looks ready to check in. Has been dressed the past few games, working back from a sprained MCL. So he's missed the last 5 games. As Ciego will climb to his feet. And we'll get any update on Jaheim Ciego if we have them. He has dealt with a lot of injuries this year. Including bruised ribs at the beginning of the year. Bruised nose that cost him to wear a mask for a few games. 49-33, Triton. 2:30 to play, Highland ball. So Jurisic is into the game. It's been a while since he's played for the Cougars. A few weeks. Hill Jr., right wing, short on the triple. Kunta has the rebound. Sadiq Moore against Washington at the Cougars logo. Kunta, Jurisic is on him. Johnson, 10 on the timer on the right wing. Drives, flips a pass outside, left wing, Scott. It just graces the rim from downtown. Jurisic, the rebound. Hill Jr. Jurisic finds the cutter. Washington, nice feed. Hansen. One of the best offensive possessions for the Cougars. Ends in a Chin Hansen easy two at the rim. 49-35, Trojans. 1:30 to play in the first half. Scott attacks baseline. Finds Johnson. Nice contest by Highland. The three-pointer comes up short. And Highland looks to chip into this lead even more. Hansen has a small one on him. Forces help. Morales has it from the corner. Kevin Morales has his third triple. And the lead is 11 for the Trojans. 49-38. 45 seconds to play. Holmes. Trojans have been stuck in neutral a little bit. Kunta. Holmes drives the baseline against Hansen and flushes it down with one hand. Hill Jr. attacks and flips it in off the glass. So Highland could have held for one shot, but Hill Jr. saw a lane to the cup. 51-40, Triton. Sadiq Moore has the ball with 5 to go in the half, pulls up at the elbow, back iron. Jurisic has it with 2, gives it to Morales, fires it up, short. As the first half comes to a close, Cougars were good in the first 3 minutes of the half, the last 3 minutes, but all those minutes in between, it was a lot of the Trojans. 51-40. Triton leads Highland. That's your halftime score here from Larry F. Kale Gymnasium. We'll take a break here in Freeport and be back with half number 2 after this break. Welcome back to Larry F. Kale Gymnasium. I'm Adam Oppenheim here in Freeport as Highland trails Triton 51-40 at the half. Leading scores, first for the visiting Trojans, Papa Kunta has 15. A lot of it came in the first 10 minutes. Therese Holmes has 13. And then Ethan Johnson, Sadiq Moore, and Matt Sullivan each have 6. It was 6 first half threes for the Trojans. That led them to a 51-point first half. Highland is led by Jaheim Ciego, who had 10. Kevin Morales had 9. And Chin Hansen had 8. Stevan Jurisic is most likely going to come back into this game in the second half. Did have some tape work done around his sprained MCL. Said it didn't feel great just a moment ago, but he's going to try to give it a go. Was not originally supposed to play in this game. That's actually what he told me earlier this week. Was going to sit out the 3 games this week, but he played in the first half and maybe the second half here today. Highland starts with the ball, going right to left, and they trail 51-40. Ciego in the near corner. Pass to Hansen is poked away. He gets it back. Now Hansen attacks down the lane and has it swatted by Therese Holmes. Stays with Highland. And 12 is on the shot clock. Washington will begin the second half starting in place of Mayo Swansea. 5 on the shot clock. Right wing. Now inside the arc, the floater is short from the baseline. And Will Scott will take it the other way for the Trojans. Crosses over and gets fouled underneath the rim. Foul is on the pass. First team foul against Highland. The lead was as high as 22 for the Trojans in the first half. Highland was able to cut that in half. Certainly still well within striking distance. 15 on the shot clock for Sadiq Moore. Has it up top and now dumps it inside. Will Scott back to Moore. Into Holmes. 10-footer, fall away, air ball. Great contest by Hansen. Hill Jr., the rebound and looks to run. Steps into a 3. Short. Moore the rebound, the outlet. Kunta down the lane. With the left, it rolls off. Nice job by Hansen getting back in transition. Ciego down the lane. Count the basket and the foul. Good transition offense by Highland. And it's now 51-42. 18:41 remains in the second half. Ciego just slashed right into the paint, split a couple of Trojans. And so far, he has been money from the line. Now 5 for 5. He has 13 points. And Highland only trails 51-43. Scott off a screen, weaves his way into the paint. Hansen affected that shot. Ciego comes up with the rebound. It's a 5-on-4. Hill Jr. works his way to the basket, but he smoked it right at the cup. Holmes spins, 365 to Scott. Extra feed, it's to Moore. Couple of crossovers, now spins, fades away, short. On the paint jumper. 2 minutes into the second half. Highland trails by 8. Hansen attacks on the baseline. 2 hard dribbles and banks it in. Timeout Trojans. Well, a quick start to the first half by Highland and a quick start to the second. And the first 5 in the second half go to Highland. And they now trail 51-45. 17-52 remains in the second half. His starting 5 in the second half for Highland has been great. Hansen, Ciego, Washington, Morales, and Hill Jr. And it's the same 5 that began the game for the Trojans. Kunta, Scott, Moore, Sullivan, and Holmes. 51-45 back underway here in Freeport. 17:40 remains. Sullivan steps into a 3. It hit the rim, but it was short. Hill Jr. will take it across the timeline for Highland. He draws out Scott. Morales thought about the corner 3. He's hit 3 triples in this game. He'll bounce for Hansen. He's way outside. Now 1 dribble in. Hook shot is short. Ciego flies in for the rebound. Toss it back inside of Hansen. Second opportunity. He traveled. He shuffled his feet before he went up with a right-hand jump hook. That fell through. But the travel keeps the lead at 6 for the Trojans. Scott being pressured outside by Morales right near the half-court line. Now Scott finds some room, spins to the reverse, he banked it in. Spectacular move to free himself and to finish the play. Morales off the bounce. They left him alone from the baseline. He was short. Holmes cutting down the lane, Euro steps, he missed it. Hansen was in pursuit. Hill Jr. on the fast break, finds some room, can't bank it in. Back-to-back missed layups. Both teams, giant opportunities right at the rim. Sullivan inside over Ciego. He scores. Sullivan now has a 55-45 Triton. Morales pulls up, same spot. This time it's a different result. From about 16 feet, Kevin Morales shoots his way into double figures. He has 11. 55-47. Scott against Hansen, drives in baseline. Sullivan, opposite corner, cashes out from downtown. Morales, the answer. Short. That was a deep left wing 3 early in the shot clock. Swansea and Suleiman come in for Washington and Hansen. Ethan Johnson off the bench for the Trojans. He checks in for Sadiq Moore. 3 players in double figures for each team. Scott drives right at Suleiman and scores. That was a straight line drive to the rim. Suleiman had no help. Leads back at 13, 60-47. Hill, this time he finishes as he just glided around Johnson from the top of the key right to the right side. Sullivan asks for a screen, gets it matched up against Swansea. The floater in the paint. He couldn't bank it in. Hill Jr. straight down the middle of the lane is denied by Kunta. Holmes ahead of the pack. 2-hand flush. Looked like he was fueling up for a spectacular dunk and then tosses it in lightly. But the Trojans have a 62-49 lead. They have answered the Highland run just like they did in the first half. Swansea was fouled on the elbow jump shot. Holmes closed out into the landing area of Swansea. Second foul against Therese Holmes. Swansea off on the first. Hansen quickly comes back in for Suleiman. Sullivan to the bench for Sadiq Moore. Therese Holmes has been a factor here tonight, had 22 points on Tuesday in their win over Daly. Had 22 points, 10 rebounds. Sadiq Moore takes it across half court against Mayo Swansea. Will Scott. Taylor Lavery directing traffic on the bench. Cross-court skip. It's Moore. Has to pick up his dribble and then threw it away out of bounds into the backcourt. Highland ball down 62-50, 13:46 to play in the second half. Hill Jr. will get a Ciego screen. Swansea attacks left to right. Try to spin it off the glass. It rolls off. Moore running. Johnson, nice move. Weaves into the paint. Around and out. Kunta the rebound. And he was fouled. Foul goes against Kevin Morales. That's his first, the team's second. Kunta shoots 2 and hits on the first. Papa Kunta, now a game high, 16 points. A few transfers on this Trojans team. Kunta, maybe the biggest get in the portal. He hits both free throws, 64-50. And before Ciego was looking to attack, he traveled. Third violation of that variety against Highland tonight. So Triton gets the ball back, leading 64-50. 13:14 to go. Hill Jr. nearly stole the inbounds pass, but then Scott ends up with it and was blocked by Hansen. He got it back, finds a left wing shooter. It's Johnson who drills the 3. Eighth three-pointer by the Trojans, 67-50. And this place has gone silent in Freeport. Hansen on the block, spins, uses the glass, and scores 2 more. Highland is going to need to stack up some defensive stops. Holmes nearly carried it. Instead, goes right at Swansea and scores 2. Swansea tries for some get back and draws the foul as he got his shoulder by Sadiq Moore, and Moore came over the top and hammered him from behind. 13 foul against Triton. 12:20 to play in the second half. Highland got the lead down to 5. And it went right back up to double figures. And Highland has been chasing ever since. Hansen's first, or rather, Swansea's first trip to the line. And he was able to knock down the first. And he also hits on the second. Swansea comes out for Washington. 69-54. His Trojans team just does not go cold on offense for long stretches, which makes it tough to come back. When you're coming up on 12 minutes remaining in a game, down 15. Johnson attacks off the dribble, hit the bottom of the backboard, but a foul was called against Anthony Washington. And it looked like Johnson got himself in a lot of trouble. Well, the call is he was hit on his way up. So many contributors by the Trojans as Johnson knocks down the first. First, got to give credit to head coach Brian Burns. He's been out a while, but his first 2 seasons with the Trojans were absolutely terrific as the head coach. And clearly passed it down to his assistants, who are all first year for Triton. Johnson hits both free throws, 71-54. O Jr. at the top of the key, gathers it with 2 hands, and the floater hits back iron. Trojans looking to push, more down the lane, right to the rim for 2. Too many easy baskets. The lead is at 19. 11:20 to go. Hansen against Holmes. Looks him in the eye and then was short on a 3. Scott behind the back. Holmes! One hand throwdown. The lead is ballooned to 21. 75-54. 11:06 to go in the second half. And Stevan Jurisic is having a lot of trouble getting back to the huddle. Still dealing with that sprained MCL. He got the go-ahead by the training staff to give it a go, but man, it is tough. I mean, on his face, just does not look very happy. Highland's gonna need to get some stops, I think would be the first key for Eric Walton. This is very similar to how the first game played out earlier in January. Back underway with Hansen. Works in his mid-post spot that he loves. Well, back in Holmes, right to the rim. Couldn't finish. Stays with Highland. Last touch by Kunta. Inbound goes to Ciego, corner 3. In and out. Hansen, great post position, or rather rebound position. As all he needed to do is catch the ball, and he had an easy layup. He buried Holmes underneath the basket. 75-56. 10.5 to go. Johnson had it knocked away as he tried to surge into the paint. Kunta, right underneath the rim, able to finish over Walter Hill Jr. Kunta now has 19. Ciego, aggressive, and picks up a foul. It's going to go against Kunta. Highland got the ball down the floor extremely fast on that possession. Really hasn't been the turnovers in the second half for Highland, but they've had opportunities at the rim that they have missed. Hansen at the block will fade away, in and out. And Triton will be totally willing to continue to take up a decent portion of this shot clock. 77-56, they have the lead. Sullivan fakes a long 3. Hansen had his hand in the cookie jar. And 2 shots coming for Matt Sullivan from Baltimore, Maryland. was a contributor on the team last year that went 29-6. As Sullivan hits the first free throw. Averaged 4 points per game. Shot 40% from three. Well, that was a team that the Trojans lost a couple of key contributors. Dajuan Anderson and VJ Wallace. Those are two of the top players in the region. Second free throw is no good, and Walter Hill Jr. takes it right to the basket with the left hand. So it's 78-58. 9:25 to play. Johnson hesitates, pulls the three, and it hits off the iron. Ciego lost the ball, regathers, and finger rolls it in. He lost possession right down the lane, but regathered. And a nice finish for one of the most athletic players in the country. 78-60, 9 to play. Sullivan, short. As he fired over Hansen. Hill Jr. Transition opportunity. Extra feed, Morales, corner three. Bingo! Kevin Morales has his fourth three. His three-point percentage has been ticking up and up and up. Now at 36%. It might be higher after today's game. Inching near the 40% range. Morales fouls Johnson up top. 78-63. Kevin Morales tied a season high on Tuesday versus Truman. He had 17. He currently sits at 14. This is a guy in Kevin Morales who does all the little things. It doesn't always take the most shots, but as of recently, when he's been shooting the ball, it has been really nice, especially from three-point range. 5 on the shot clock. Tossed inside of Holmes. Pump fake. Draws the foul against Hansen. As Ciego gambled on the steal, and that created the late shot clock opportunity for the Trojans. 2 shots coming for Therese Holmes. All net on the first. First trip to the line tonight for Therese Holmes. As Kunta comes back in for Nyarko. Holmes now has 20. Kunta with 19. And Holmes now with 21. 80-63. 8 minutes to play. Ciego. High gather. And can't roll it in. About 2 dribbles from the three-point line to the basket. But could not finish. 7:45 to go. Scott. Pump fake on Ciego. But couldn't finish as Ciego went flying out of bounds. Morales up the floor. Swansea will attack. Had it poked away by Holmes. Nice transition defensive play. Therese Holmes down the lane. Wide open. Got it from the corner. It's Johnson. Another triple for the Trojans. And that might end it on a comeback attempt for Highland. The 9th three-pointer for Triton. And they lead by 20, 83-63, with 7:23 remaining. Let's see if the Cougars have one more push coming out of the timeout. They trail 83-63. 7:23 to go. And Ciego will roll the ball. And Walter Hill Jr. picks it up at half court. They need buckets and in a hurry. Swansea, baseline, two-hand jam. That's exactly what Eric Walton envisioned right out of the timeout. 83-65, 7 to play. Scott draws out Ciego. Scott to the rim, banks it in. Hill Jr. steps into a three. Hansen the rebound. And he's able to answer with a two of his own. Chin Hansen, 8 field goals made, all from two-point range, and no free throws. 85-67. Scott likes the matchup against Ciego. This time gives it up. Johnson spins away from Hill Jr. Holmes tried to flush it on top of Hansen, but came up short. The foul is against Chin Hansen. Hansen's fourth. 7th team foul for Highland. First foul shot is no good for Holmes. Ethan Johnson also had a really nice game. 14 points. Averages 11 on the season. He came from Three Rivers Community College last year. That's in Missouri. He averaged 7.5 points. No one picks up Hansen in transition. That was way too easy. After the made free throw, Hill Jr. just got the inbounds, tossed it at Hansen, who was in the corner, who drove right to the rim, almost uncontested for 2 points. Johnson, off the bounce. Kunta, able to get away from Hill Jr., attacks, and he tried to throw it down on Morales. He did not, but he was fouled. Well, there have been many meetups at the rim. Kunta had a nasty slam earlier against Kevin Morales. Although Morales was trailing from behind as Kunta knocks down the first. And we've seen it from Kevin Morales all year. He is willing to challenge whoever at the rim. Stands at just 6'1". Has had a couple blocks against guys who are in the 6'8", 6'9" range. (88-69) after the two made foul shots. Ciego almost landed before he got rid of the ball. Hansen, 15 on the shot clock. Hoback and Holmes forced to pick up his dribble. Hill Jr. calls for a Hansen screen. 6 on the shot clock. Hill Jr. steps back. Air ball. That was in the deep corner, and Holmes had a terrific contest. 88-69. Coming up on 5 minutes to play. Swansea pressuring Scott. Scott goes around him and scores 2 more. Number 2 for the Trojans has played a heck of a game. He now has 13. Hill Jr. lob. Ciego is able to fly in for the finish. 4 in double figures for Highland. 5 for Triton. Moore leaves it off. Johnson again. This time it's the right corner. Johnson has 4 triples. Morales was fouled by Johnson. Highland will inbound. 4:20 to play. Suleiman back into the game for Highland. Hansen spins underneath the rim, denied by Holmes. And then a whistle. The whistle was for, we will find out. The Trojans have the ball, but that would have been a transition opportunity. Oh, Taylor Lavery, probably not too upset about that at this point. His team leads 93-71. They got punched in the mouth at the beginning of the first and the second half. But all the other minutes, they've really played well. Moore finds Johnson. Short this time on the corner three. Suleiman has the rebound. Finds Hill. Hill will attack, will pull up, the floater bounces in. Hit the back rim and drop through. 93-73 with 3:35 to play. Sadiq Moore. 10 on the shot clock. Backs in against Hill. Corner shooter, it's Scott. He buries it. Will Scott has his first triple. Ciego finds Hansen, top of the key, has it poked away by Scott. Picked up by Johnson, who leaves it for a layup by Sadiq Moore. And that's going to about do it here in Freeport. 98-73, largest lead of the game for the Trojans. Timeout Highland. 2:49 to go. 98-73. Well, Highland makes some subs in. Joshua Jennings appears for the first time in quite a bit. 7th game he's appeared in. Kate Gurdon in, along with Suleiman, Daryl Toney for the first time tonight, and David Udella. Suleiman off the bounce. Has his first bucket. It was a mid-range 16-footer. 98-75. 2:20 to play. Triton doesn't have a whole lot of subs. Only brought, I think, 9 guys with them. Maybe 8. Moore around Toney and scores off the glass. Joshua Jennings has the ball now. David Udella, Gurdon, left wing. Side of the rim on a 3. Cade Gurdon is the guy who hustles every day in practice. Had his first collegiate basket earlier this year. The bench went absolutely crazy. Moore against Jennings. Hits the foot of Toney. Hundred to 75. Sullivan on the baseline around Jennings and has 2 more. 14 points. Just even scoring for the Trojans. Udella. Suleiman in the deep corner. Fends off and fires. Mid-range hits the rim. And 2 Trojans run into each other, so it stays with Highland. 1:05 on the clock, 102-75. Trojans. Team that averages 81.3 a game. Tony couldn't finish. Suleiman, jump ball with Johnson. Session error favors Triton. It's the first time the Trojans have cracked 100 this year. Maybe even more. Johnson. Off the rim, Udella has the rebound. 40 seconds to play. Inside, Tony. He was fouled by Johnson. Trojans last scored 100 last season. They scored 104 against Sauk Valley. That was on January 18th, 2025. They won that game 104 to 68. The three-point shooting has just been killing the Cougars all night long. As Tony's good on the first foul shot. And the Cougars certainly played hard tonight, which was an issue on Tuesday. But they were just outclassed by a better team here tonight. Tony missed the second. 102-76. About an 8-second difference shot in game clock. Khaled will step back for three. Short. There's 10 seconds to play. Highland's going to launch one more shot up. Girton. The floater. Short. Jennings fighting for the rebound. Jennings fires. Air ball. Tony can't bank it in. And that's going to do it. The Cougars fall for the fifth straight game, 102-76 against the Triton Trojans, who improved to 12-8. 10-4 in Region 4 play. Highland now 10-13, 7-7 in Region 4 play. We hear from head coach Eric Walton, and then we'll wrap it up. But first, this short break here from Freeport. Welcome back to Highland. Now here with head coach Eric Walton. Coach, yeah, it was another tough game. What kind of went wrong for you guys?
That's a good question. My top five guys, they gave it their all out there. It's kind of hard when you got, Stefan, who's tried to give us a go out there and actually gave us a little bit of a boost, but he's still battling an injury. I wish I could tell you what went wrong. It's just going to be a battle, like trying to get these guys, back into that winning spirit, which that's the thing right now. So it's trying to change their mentality. I know we got one more game against Wilbur Wright, which has another Chicago team. Can't overlook them. You can't overlook nobody, and it's just one of those things. Like, hopefully we can go in there and get a victory, but it's going to be tough. It's in their home gym and everything else, and we just got to find that fight that will.
It feels like, especially starting both halves, maybe something you said that got your guys motivated. You've had a lot of, early leads where the opposing team actually calls the first time out.
Mm-hmm.
But what is it after that first time out that kind of sways it back in the other direction?
It's adversity. It's one of those things I tell my players, you're going to face adversity through the games. Teams are going to go on a run. It's like a boxing match. You're going to give a couple punches, you got to take a couple punches. And it's just one of those things. And so when we actually take a couple punches, it's kind of like Tyson out there. You got to learn how to get back up and duck and dodge and move. And it's one of those. It's tough. We've been battling injuries throughout the whole season. I give these guys a lot of credit. I ride them hard, and I know it's not the outcome that we all looking for and everything else, and it's just the way the season's going. But trust and believe, these guys are still working hard, still showing up to practice and everything. Just got to continue to get better. I wish I could tell you what went wrong from the first semester. Matter of fact, let's not even go back to the first semester from when we played Sauk Valley to now. It's got to be something in the air. I don't know. I know we deal with a lot of illness, but I have no idea. Hopefully we can swing this thing around before the playoffs get started and kind of go from there.
Oh, another game to play on Saturday. Coach Walton, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Larry F. Kill Gymnasium. Just heard from head coach Eric Walton. Highland falls to 10-13, 7-7 in Region 4 play. They've lost their last 5. The Trojans 12-8, now 10-4 in Region 4 play. They're looking like a really solid team here down the stretch, finding their identity, and they've shot the ball extremely well recently and then again here tonight, including 11 triples, 5 players in double figures. Therese Holmes led the way with 22. Papa Kunta had 21. Ethan Johnson had 17. Will Scott had 16. Matt Sullivan had 14. And Sadiq Moore had 12. So those 6 guys totaled all the points that the Trojans had in this game. 6 contributors, at least on the offensive end. Nobody else. For Highland, it was a pretty similar story. Chin Hansen had 18. James Ciego had 17. Kevin Morales had 14. Walter Hill Jr. had 11. And it was just 3 points outside of those core 5 guys, actually, with Mayo Swansea, because he had 6. Well, Highland is going to be on the road. It's an important game at Wilbur Wright College. It comes after they just destroyed Wilbur Wright back in November, 95-55, but no easy games in Region 4 play. And they'll be on the road at Sauk Valley, and they're not going to be back here until they take on Kankakee Community College, who they just got crushed by 5 days ago, so they'll look for revenge. The next home game for the men's team is February the 14th. That's against Kankakee. A little bit different schedule for the women's team. They're at Wilbur Wright as well on Saturday. And then they are home versus Blackhawk College and Carl Sandburg College. That's on the 3rd and the 5th. That's Tuesday and Thursday. of next week. Well, we will talk to you next on Tuesday, once again, as the women's team takes on Blackhawk College. That's all from Larry F. Kill Gymnasium in Freeport, Illinois. I'm Adam Oppenheim. Thank you so much for tuning into Highland men's basketball as they fall to the Trojans.